Hello, everybody. Greetings, 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 greetings. All praises to the Most High, Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahushua. Shalom to everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Me, of course, things are rough. You already know that I'm unable to go to work because I don't have a car to go to work. And, I've been trying to work it out with my employers about what we can do to solve the problem. The solutions that they're coming up with, I don't agree with it because it will just put more debt on my head right now, and we just can't manage going into more debt. And honestly, really and truly, I really hate being in debt. Anyway, all things aside, give thanks and praise to the Most High because no matter how rough things are getting, I am not going to be turning on the Most High, especially in this day and age. Yeah. Um, I want to talk about all these mythical creatures that the government is now admitting to. So all the conspiracies that us as people of the Most High have been talking about for years, even before we came back into realization of who we were as a people. You know, um, they are now admitting that we are basically right and that the scriptures are right. So I wanted to get into that. I want to get into some mythical creatures that I believe are going to start re-showing themselves because the Bible talks about things like the satyrs, the minotaurs, the centaurs. Well, the centaurs are not mentioned in the Bible, but minotaurs are mentioned in the Bible under a different name. Centaurs are not mentioned in the Bible. Behemoth, Leviathan, and other things. Um, I don't want to get into these two, Jude and Genesis. Not right now. You understand what I'm saying? Not right now. I want to get into I don't want to get into this scripture either. I want to start with, basically the Leviathan. If a lot of you people don't know what the Leviathan is, I'm going to tell you it's mentioned in Job, right? Canst thou draw, Job chapter 41. Let's start with that. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet for him? Shall they depart? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thine hand upon him, remember the battle, do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall no one be cast down even at the sight of him? Basically, you're going to be afraid and you're going to die when you see it. None is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me? Who hath prevented me that I should repay him? Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. Who can discover the face of his garment, or who can come to him with his double bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. This is a description of basically what the Leviathan is. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. Basically, how close the scales are, together. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another, they stick together that they cannot be sundered. By his nescience a light doth shine, and his light are like the eyelids of the morning. Basically, he's saying that the eyes are so big that they shine like the sun. Basically, they beam. The eyes beam. So basically, when the Leviathan looks somewhere, it's actually being able to beam light. It's a beam of light coming out of its eyes. It's so bright that there's beam of light coming out of its eyes. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. So he's able to throw fire out of his mouth. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke as out of a seething pot or cauldron. So out of the nose, he's breathing smoke, out of the mouth, fire. Just like the mythical dragons that you always hear about. His breath kindled coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. In his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. Yeah. So meeting the Leviathan is not a good thing for us. The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot fold, the spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. I don't know what that is. Or habergeon. Habergeon. I don't know what that is. He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into rubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. This is basically him like when he's passing underneath like the ocean and stuff like that. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh a path to shine after him. So one would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is king over all the children of pride. So the Most High is explaining what the Leviathan is. Basically, he's not explaining what Leviathan is to Job because Job knows what a Leviathan looks like. But he's actually letting Job know about, like, you have to remember who you're talking to. I am the same one who actually created the Leviathan. And you're here coming to ask me questions. It's kind of impertinent of you to basically think that you are high enough to question me. You understand? So he's letting him know that I am the only one that can deal with the Leviathan. Now, before we continue any further, the Leviathan is actually dead. And it was probably only one creature. And if it was a number of creatures and stuff like that, it would still be around. But the Leviathan is actually God's strongest creation, not his greatest. It is the strongest of his creations, meaning that there is no other creation that actually can defeat the Leviathan. You understand? The Leviathan can boil the water that he's underneath. So you swimming in the water with the Leviathan is basically the Leviathan will basically boil you alive. See? He make it the deep to boil like a pot. We don't know how far, like, let's say he's in a 50-foot deep pool or 100-foot deep pool, and you're at the top of it, and the Leviathan's range of boiling that water is that he can boil the whole 100 feet high up without moving. So he could basically be down, looking up. Like, what is that dumb human being doing up there? Alright, I'm kind of hungry right now. A long time I don't have a boiled human in a man. Boil the water and boil you with it. And so, one thing you have to understand though is that the Leviathan is dead. How is the Leviathan dead? The Most High killed the Leviathan. And I'm going to show you right now, because when we were in the wilderness in Psalms, it tells you that the Most High gave us the meat of the Leviathan to eat. Watch this. Now, a lot of people say this is metaphorical as to the nations around us and stuff like that, but I don't think it is. As with the things that are coming out right now, I do not think the Leviathan is a metaphorical creature. I honestly, really, and truly believe that the Leviathan is or was a living creature before the Most High disposed of it. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan. See? in pieces and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. That was when we were basically living in the wilderness and moving in the wilderness and stuff like that. And remember that as we were going through the wilderness, we were coming upon mythical men enough. The son of Anak and all those people, as we will look like grasshoppers in them and in their sights and etc. etc. Right? So I would not, it would be in my best interest right now to believe that even back then, before we came to a basic common error, excuse me, sorry about that, that we saw these creatures, that our ancestors that were moving through the wilderness saw these creatures. Even in Egypt, you still have the long-necked creatures on walls, inscribed on walls, like the long-necked dinosaurs inscribed on walls and things like that. People are like, "Oh, it's mythical," you know, white people, "Oh, it's mythical," and stuff like that. You're so dumb. You're so stupid. Yeah, whatever. We don't listen to you people anymore. Just so you know. All right. Anyway, um, what is the Leviathan to me? Um, the Leviathan is a hydra because in Greek mythology, this is the behavior of the hydra, right? Thou breakest the heads of the Leviathan. Heads. Some people say that, oh, the Leviathan was a kingdom with many, generals, stuff like that. Like I said before, I don't believe that. I've never, friends and I, when we used to have Bible studies and stuff like that, we're not like really cheering that, government is now saying, oh, because it means that everything that we were speculating for years about scriptures saying these things and what we believed is actually true. And if that is the case, then there are worse things to come that I'm going to get into in a moment. I believe a Leviathan is a hydra of Greek mythology, and I'm going to type that in right now. Hydra is, alright, let's read it right here. The Hydra is a serpent like monster with many heads that was slain by Hercules. The Hydra was a child of Typhon and Echidna and lived in the marshes of Lerna. The Hydra had poisonous breath and blood, and each time a head was cut off, two more would grow back. Hercules killed the Hydra by cutting off all of his heads and burning the neck with fire. So the Hydra basically was a mythical creature, but he was also like the Hydra was also like the king of the creatures in Greek mythology too as well. The Hydra was very feared. It lived in the waters. It was like a serpent of the waters as well. One head through, if I remember, one head through gas, one head through fire, one head through ice, just like the Cerberus. If you don't know what the Cerberus is a three-headed dog, mythical dog that, basically the same thing as the Hydra. All right. So I want to move on. I want to move on to other wild creatures that are mentioned in the scriptures, known as what we call the satyrs, and satyrs are actually half goat, half men. All right. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. If you do not know what doleful creatures are like the pixies, the butterflies, the fairies, etc. By the way, butterflies, not butterflies that we have. Butterflies are also, types of fairies too. But pixies, butterflies, fairies, those are doleful creatures that they just seem so, happy and joyful, but they're actually maleficent. You understand? They're filled with evil. They're like he probably would be in the wilderness and you're hearing like music and you're looking off and you see creatures dancing and stuff like that and you're like, oh, they look so happy and let me go check it out and stuff like that. And you go check it out and you realize that they're actually evil creatures that are just dancing out of their own evil. All right. If you don't know what a satyr is, I'm going to point you to Narnia. And first things first, fair use. This is Mr. Tumnus. He is a satyr. And there are rumors about the satyrs. I don't have enough knowledge about them, where they tell you that satyrs are actually pedos, right? Anyway, that's another story. I don't know the truth of that. I haven't done enough research. I know there are many other people who've done their research, and you can probably go look it up and do your own research. But satyrs are well known to be dancing creatures, doleful creatures, nymphs, and things like that. They like to do all those types of stuff. They like to play flutes and all those things. Again, look at this scripture verse. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. Satyrs are another mythical creature. I want to go into minotaurs. Minotaurs, if you don't know what a minotaur is, this is a minotaur. A minotaur is a bull with a bull tail and bull horn, head of a bull, and the torso of a human being. Minotaurs are usually like 7 foot up. They're never small creatures. Centaurs are partially man, like 25% man. The upper part is a man, and then the lower part is a horse. That's what a centaur is. And I'm going to express where all of these creatures come from. What we have been talking about for years, where all these creatures are coming from, or where they were birthed. You see, in Genesis, yes, we're going back to Genesis. It's a very important thing to talk about now. Because we have to understand what happened in Genesis. What really and truly took place in Genesis. Because you see, Yahushua said that as it was in the days of Noah or Noe, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. What was happening in the days of Noah, right? Or Noah. All right, let's break that down. We have to break that down. We have to start with creation itself. God, or Elohim, Yahuwah, created a perfect world. He created a perfect world. When Adam and Eve sinned, he destroyed that perfect world by judging it, and what we're left with is basically a junkyard of what the earth used to be. There is still land underneath the ocean that people are now starting to admit about. Let's talk about Genesis, and I'm going to pull up my book here because I have some points that I just want to say, right? Genesis was the age of antiquity. What do I mean by the age of antiquity? It was a golden age. We lived longer. We lived close to 1,000 years. Most of us can barely make it past 60 or barely make it up to 70, 80. And when we get to that age, we can't do anything that's of substance for ourselves or for others or for the beneficial of man. In Genesis, we lived up to 800 and odd years, 600, 700. Do you know what you could possibly do with even like 200 years of knowledge? If you lived that long, with youth that long, Probably me, 300 years old, would probably look like me at 17 years old. The ferocity of a teenager, and yet still the knowledge of a 30 odd year old man. Can you imagine that type of person? Can you? I know you can. I know you can. And so, because we lived that long, we were able to acquire more knowledge. We were able to experiment and gain knowledge from experiments, and we were able to improve on what we learned as human beings back then because we lived long enough to improve upon it. Do you understand what I am saying? Um, sorry, I have a little cold. And because of the earth, the resources of the earth being in its purest form at that point in time, because we don't have, we barely, even if we do have those resources, we're currently fighting over those resources. Because I can guarantee you, if the earth was the way it was in Genesis right now, there would be no white supremacy. I can guarantee you that. And the reason why I can guarantee you that is because everybody would have what they need and would not give two craps about them. They would not be able to conquer the entire earth like that. Because everybody would have their, basically from the materials that everybody would be taken out of the earth, everybody would have their own military to destroy everybody. Which is also, something that you need to consider with the Mahabharata. If you've ever read it, I've read the Mahabharata. Anyway, um, one of the things that I want to talk about is some of the findings with some of the people that were found is the bone density of these people. And the bone density of these people is that they basically, you know, their bones are much, much denser than ours, way denser, way thicker as well. We would not be able to fight with these people of Genesis. We are actually de-evolving. Many of us can't even put our. I only have one wisdom tooth in my mouth. One wisdom tooth in my mouth. And it can barely fit in there. My father has all his wisdom tooth. And I heard that my grandfather had two rows of wisdom tooth, meaning top and bottom. Wisdom tooth is mainly at the bottom. We're basically de-evolving. I hope you people understand that. So when people talking about how we're evolving, we're getting better and stuff like that, no, we're not. We're getting sicker. We're practically passing away much easier than our ancestors did. Much easier. We're passing, and I'm not talking about from crime. I'm talking about that our immunities are shot. I mean, my immunity is great. I've not seen anybody with my immunity here in America. That's weird for me. That's weird for me. Jamaicans have very strong immunity. Very, very strong immunity. Like, I'm always the last person to get sick. And I'm always the person who comes out of it quicker. My wife, she will get sick for a week. And I'm just like sick for like 2 days and done. Boom, I'm out of it. Or one day of like it being super serious and then I'm out of it. The only time I had got like super sick is when I actually caught COVID. And trust me, I had it the worst out of everybody. I was literally bedridden when I got COVID. I was like, yo, frick, this thing is um the thing about it is that in Genesis, the age of the golden age is what many of my friends and I call it, or have been calling it for years. In Genesis, we messed with a lot of things. We gene manipulated our own genes. We messed with the genes of the dinosaurs. We messed with the genes of plants, and we messed with the genes of animals in Genesis, which is why you have a marine kingdom even after the flood of Genesis. The thing about it is that when the Most High basically was flooding the earth, though, there's many speculations and many reasons for why we believe that it was corrupted. But if you understand why the flood was going to happen, the Most High said that we had wicked imaginations and we weren't even stopping our imaginations. Everything that we imagined wickedly, we wanted to do it. So that's why I said that we basically messed with, we gene manipulated everything from plants. I mean, many of these plants, these carnivorous plants that we have right now, is probably from us. Many of these trees that are so like poisonous and stuff like that, it's probably from us messing with the gene manipulated and all those things. We're doing it now, so why was it impossible for them to do it? They lived longer. They were obviously much smarter than us. Why is it hard for us to fathom that? We are not the smartest generation alive. We're not. We're dumb as F. And we're allowing people that are practically maybe and truly dumber than us to rule over us and lie to us while they are in the pursuit of speaking to demonic transdimensional beings and acquire their knowledge and hold the rest of us down. So anyway, we spoke about the Leviathan, which is the Hydra in Greek. We spoke about, Genesis. Let's talk about the fallen angels. Now, there are many people, Seventh Day Adventists, and even some Hebrew Israelite people that don't believe that the angels of Genesis that fell basically mated with human women, and I don't believe that's true. I do believe that they mated with women, and the reason why I say this is that we can go to Genesis. We're gonna go to Genesis. All right, we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 19, and we're gonna read. And I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of questions, and you can let me know what you think. And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot saw them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, all right, yeah, let's finish that first. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. Bring them out unto us so that we may sleep with them. I want to talk about this part here. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Now, what is important there is that the angels ate. Where's that food gonna go if not into our stomach, pass through the gastrointestinal tract, and then through their butthole? Are you going to literally now look at me and tell me that they did not have human body parts? Isn't the same creator that created them created us? So why wouldn't they be similar to us? Why wouldn't they be interchangeable with us? This is why I said that, sometimes we have to read with a understanding. People are gonna say whatever it is, but yeah, it wasn't necessary for them to eat, but they ate. So where's that food? It's just gonna go in their stomach and just disappear like that. So if they're obviously eating, they're gonna obviously use the bathroom, which means that they might have to pee. It could probably be looking different than ours though. I don't know. Right? We're gonna go to Jude, in which it talks about, the angels which kept not their first estate, which means that their place which the Most High gave to them, which is probably to watch over us, or to basically, sit in the congregation in heaven, but left their own habitation, left their own living quarters, their own homes. He hath reserved in everlasting chains on the darkness unto the judgment of the great day. So a lot of things that's going to be happening, people. You're going to be seeing minotaurs. Oh, by the way, in Jamaica mythology, we have something called a rolling calf. You ask any Jamaican what a rolling calf is, and they will basically be explaining to you a minotaur. You ask any Jamaican what a rolling calf is, and they will basically explain a minotaur. And folklore for Jamaica goes that if you happen to actually lay eyes upon a minotaur, that means that you're going to die. Because the minotaur is a bull, half man, half cow, right? They're going to tell you. And it has chains around it, gold chains around its neck. And it's banging the chains. It's like what would they call it? It's a death bringer. So to hear a minotaur, if they say that if you turn around and you see the minotaur face to face, that means that when you wake out of your dream, you're going to die, or you're going to die on the spot of seeing a minotaur. But they say if you hear the chains, the warning of the minotaur coming, and you run away, you're going to live. I mean, the rolling calf. So ask any Jamaican to explain the rolling calf to you. Let them explain it. Because that was how my father explained it to me when I was young. He would explain the rolling calf to me. Make a Jamaican, an old Jamaican, or a Jamaican in them 30s or 40s explain what a rolling calf is. I don't think any young Jamaican know about rolling calf. Make them explain what a rolling calf is to you. And you come up with the picture of a minotaur. You're gonna come up with a picture of a minotaur by the time they're done explaining it to you. Alright, we're gonna move up to John. Just one last thing now. I wanted to talk about. I think it's very important to talk about where a lot of people did not understand, there was something that my father had explained to me in terms of Christ. We had the argument that Christ and the Father, are the same person, and my father said no. And my father wasn't even somebody heavily in the church. My father was not somebody heavily in the church, but he explained it like this, and I carry that understanding with me to this day. We're gonna read the Bible verse first, and then we're going to dive into it. And Yahushua said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet thou hast no, sorry. And Yahushua said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, Show us the Father? Some take this to mean that Yahushua is the physical manifestation of the Father. I believe that as well. And My father explained this. My father said, when somebody looks at you, they're seeing me, because you're also, because when you look at the son, you're seeing also the father, where he came from. So, you know, it's a resemblance thing. So Christ resembles his father. He looks like his father. So that's what he's saying. So even as you have seen me, you basically know the image of the father, because as I look, the father is not going to look any more different than I look. And that's what Christ is saying. That as you see me, you're basically looking at what my father looks like. Um, Many boys in our life right now, when the fathers leave certain toxic women, many boys suffer because they look exactly like their fathers. And these women take out their frustration, their anger out on these boys. Why? Because they look like their fathers. And I unfortunately was also at one point in time a victim of that. I was a victim of, my mother taking her anger and frustration out of me because of the things that my father had done to her. You know. Anyway, people, that is going to be it for today's Bible study. I didn't get that chance to go into the marine life, which I wanted to. I wanted to go into the marine life a little bit more. I think I'll try to do it a little bit later on tonight. I'll go into the marine life a little bit more in terms of the sirens and the mermaids, etc. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Enough love and respect. Peace. Shalom and have a happy Shabbat. I'm out.